Welcome to Mini Moderns. My name's Simone, and thank you for joining me on my tiny corner on the miniature interweb where we're here to think big, build small. So let's get into it. So before we get started today, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to you all for being here. Sometimes I have to it's real. Sometimes I have to pinch myself just to check that this is real. Because I remember back in 2023, I started this adventure with no skills, no experience, never really touching glue or scissors or anything of that nature. I was more of a knitter crocheter type, but I loved miniatures. I love houses and design and interior. And somehow I found myself here in this world, and I just took the plunge and said, I am going to do it no matter what. And I'm so happy and thankful that I did, because I've managed to meet so many fantastic people on this journey, and I just can't believe it. And I think the support from you guys have made me not seem like a crazy person taking on this adventure. Because imagine just saying to your kids and family, like, yeah, I'm going to just start crafting, making miniatures and doll houses and all that, like from nowhere. So to know that there is a community out there with like-minded people, it's been so wonderful. And even this prompt in itself that we're working on, the kitchen diorama, that was really instigated by one of you guys. I'm going to shout out Mary Davis, because without you and your belief and encouragement, I may not have ever done this prompt. If you remember in part one, I said that this was actually part of a collaboration with Miss Mini Life. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do it we're like across the world and stuff, but one day we will. But if Mary didn't make that initial connection for us, she was like, why don't you guys collab? And I'm like, dude, she's good. What do you mean? I was like, okay. But then obviously she's such a lovely person as well. She was very much happy to do it. As I said, the circumstances made it that it wasn't possible this time around, but the prompt still went ahead, and the prompt being the fridge. And as I said, without that extra support and kick, this might have never been a thing. So Mary Davis, thank you so much for your support as well. And those who have been supporting from the beginning till now, I really do appreciate you all. And of course, I've got to give a huge shout out to my Patreons. Thank you so much for taking that chance with me. It means so much. And also Krista MO for being part of my mini structures. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means so much, and I hope that you enjoy being part of the family as with everybody else. So now, on to the video. We are going to be continuing our kitchen diorama. It is our New Year's Eve scene. So we've got a lot to get through today. We're going to be working on the ceiling, and we're going to be making a built-in kitchen unit with the oven and everything already built in. So guys, I hope that you guys are along for the ride. I hope you guys get some value from this video. And if you do, remember to comment down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell. Okay guys, you ready for this? What do you say? Okay, let's go. Before we get started, guys, I want to share my mini makers challenge that I do on my Patreon and my new Facebook group. Just a nice community thing where I give you a prompt and you guys can make something. If you have the time, of course, it's not essential. So the last one I did, it was a bottle top, and it's to see what you can create. It's not essential, but if you've got the time and you want to get involved, please do. Because look at these amazing pies that were created by Linda. So she used the bottle tops of the base or the pan for the pie and polymer clay to make the pies, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So if you guys have made anything with bottle tops already and you want to showcase them, please do. Just join the family on Patreon or Facebook. The links are in the description. Thank you again, Linda, for sharing this. This is beautiful. I can't wait to try something like this myself. But I did go ahead and try this prompt myself, and I went ahead and made a modern bar stool. Then it gave me an idea to make a whole scene, so look out for that in the future. And if you do have anything to share, please join me on Facebook and Patreon. Now let's get on with the video. So at the end of part one, we completed the flooring, the side walls and the back walls. Now it's time to put the structure together, but first I need to add a little bit of extra trimming to my side walls because I need a space for my lighting and my wires to be hidden, because ain't nobody want to see that. So I'm going to add maybe like an inch and a half to the back of these walls, and this is where I'm going to have my wires for my lighting. So I'm just going to measure up my floor to the wall to see how much extra space I need to add on my side walls, so that I've got a nice little hidey hole to put my lighting and wires. I only ended up adding about 1/2 inch to this side wall, so that's going to be plenty of space. So now we can finally put the walls up on these structures, and I'm so excited. So what I've done is actually put toothpicks into the floor itself, and I'm going to be drilling holes onto the floor and the wall, and that's how I'm going to connect them. And I'm also going to be using this super all-purpose glue as well. It's really nice strong holds. I put the toothpicks through the foam board, and I also drill the holes into the walls, and I'm going to be connecting those. But first I'm going to put glue around all of the holes as well, so we're going to have that real extra security, so this thing is not falling apart. If you remember as well, we've got the foam board in the middle, and either side is layered with grey craft board, so it's super sturdy. I'm going to use some masking tape to let that set and dry. All this tape won't be seen as well, because on the floor we're going to have another layer of grey craft board as well for extra strength. So I'm going to do this all around the room box. At last the room is together. It's looking pretty shabby with all the blue tapes and holes and stuff, but don't worry guys, we gotta go through the shine to get the shine. But before we do any cleaning up, we're moving on to the ceiling. So I've punched some holes for exactly where I want my ceiling lights to go. The clients requested ceiling lights, so we are going to do those built-in lights the same way that we have on the back wall. I've got some cereal box, painted that black, done a few sheets because I'm not sure how many I'm gonna need. I'm cutting these up into squares, you know, but first I've got to mark out exactly where I want the squares, you know. Those of you who've been watching for a little while know that I go a little cuckoo from time to time. It happens, it's a thing. But anyway, get our X-Acto blade and cut these bad boys into nice, delicious, juicy squares. The foam board's painted black. Get the squares, stick them down. Now it's time to make the light rims, pretty much how we did for the back wall. We get circles with cardstock and put circles and circles, so you got some circles. Woo! 10 out of 10 for the explanations. But yeah, simply get a hole punch and then stick some circles on top of other circles until you got some circles and circles, and then stick them around the circles. I've mentioned before that I do start off as the same woman, and then as the editing goes on, I lose my mind. But as you can see here, I'm just testing that the lights will go through the holes that I made on the ceiling, and then I'm adding our little circle rims just so that we've got our built-in circle lights, and I'm really happy with this. So now I can go ahead and stick all my little rims around all the holes in the ceilings, and it looks good. Now with most of the main structure complete, we can start working on the appliances. First we're going to start with our L-shaped kitchen unit with the built-in oven. This printable will be available on my Patreon. If it's not already, then it will be very soon, so look out for it guys. So this structure is going to be made using balsa wood, but first I need to seal it before I do any painting. So I'm going to use watered down PVA glue, just a dab of water and plenty of glue. I'm gonna glue one side, let it dry, because let me tell you something, balsa wood likes to warp. You see that? Warp. Whilst that's drying, I go for a walk and then come back and paint the other side, and then we are ready to go. Now with the wood primed, I'm ready to paint this and get the design going. I'm going to use a mini 2-inch roller and a paintbrush to get this texture that I want. So first I'm going to pour out the amount of paint that I need because I don't want to waste anything. So I'm going to have my roller and my main brush. I'm going to use a big head for the main brush because I really want to follow the grains of the wood without having to have too many small strokes, making sure that I get the edges as well. So now using the roller, we're going to go against the grain just to get that nice even tone and give this wood a bit more of an expensive look without the streaky lines. So if you can see the difference of the top part and the bottom when it's just painted regularly, and this way it gives it more of an expensive lavish look, just what the clients were looking for. I do this with all the pieces that I'm going to need painted black, so it's all done and dusted, and when I need to cut, I am ready to roll. Look how satisfying that texture is, guys. I mean, come on, right? And now onto the other color that I want to use for this counter is some of this wood stain, the color teak. Same color that I've used before because I still want to keep things in unison. The wood's already been sealed just like before. I'm going to paint this all over. This time I'm not going to be using the rollers. I'm going to just keep this straight woody vibes. Looking good, my friend. With all the pieces I need painted, we can get on with the design. So first I'm going to start with the top counter. So if you're following along, you can just cut out this template and stick it onto your wooden piece that you've got on the side that we haven't just painted, of course, because we don't want to peel off any of that paper when we're taking off the printable. Or you could simply follow the measurements or just make your own L shape. One for the sink and one for the oven. I'm ready to cut on my sink. I just make a few adjustments because I've decided I wanted a bit more of a circular sink instead of a square one. So I'm going to actually draw my design onto the wood here with any little tweaks. Again, this is your design. If you're doing this yourself, create whatever you like here. Once I've drawn this out, I'm just going to use my X-Acto blade and then cut out my sink area. With my sink cut out, I've decided that I want to cut another little hole for where my drain's going to go. This part isn't necessary completely, depending on how you want your drain to go. If you want it like dipped under a little bit, then the cutout is good, or you can simply just stick your drain on top. So this part is completely optional, but I do it. So it's like this. We've got our sink section and we've got our drain section. And then do the same on the piece that's going to hold our oven. I'm going to cut a piece out of the top, and this is where our oven top will be. It's going to be a built-in unit. So with the top pieces cut out, I now cut out the side panels that I'm going to need to help the unit stand up. So here are the 4 pieces that I'm working with to start with. We've got the sink, we've got the oven, and we've got the 2 side panels. But first we need to make this sink stand up. So I made my own kind of straight edge tool using grey craft board and Jenga blocks. It's definitely makeshift and I'll invest in a real one in time, but for now it's going to do the job. So I want to make sure that the clean side that has been painted is the side that will be visible. So I'm going to just push that up against the Jenga blocks, and then same with my side pieces. So now I'm going to just simply use my wood glue, pop those on the side and wait for those to completely set and dry. So while those dry, I'm now going to make the panels required to make the front of the cabinet. I'm going to have one base piece of the cabinet, which is going to be a rectangular strip like this. Make sure to sand it down so everything's smooth. And then I simply place that in underneath the cabinet. So you've got a tiny little gap, and in that gap we're going to also have some more squares placed on top to represent the look of cupboards and drawers. So you want to just leave a gap there so we can fit another layer on top. Looking good so far, guys. Now let's get these pieces stuck on. So for this front piece, we just cut some rectangular strips to represent drawers and cupboards. And if you get the pattern, you can just follow along. So this one will be like a top and a bottom, a small drawer and a bigger cupboard at the bottom, and then cupboards going across. As this was a modern type of cupboard, I didn't want handles on it. It's going to be the style that if you imagine you just push it to open. I'm just going to go ahead and put those on. Whilst my unit dries, it's time to make the sink. And I decided to use a good old McDonald's tub and some cardboard to make my sink. So just got to really wash out that McDonald's sauce, because we do not want your sink smelling. Okay, get soap and water and really wash that out. Now with everything clean and dry, we are ready to roll. I'm going to turn my tub upside down and draw around this, because this is what I'm going to use to make my little draining board. Good bit of cardboard, never failed. I cut that out, and now I've got my 2 pieces to work with. I'm going to put my tub on one side for the sink and just make sure my draining board is the right size. And this is just simply going to be stuck across on the other side. That's why I said you don't really need the hole, because I changed my mind. I thought I was going to make a little dip, but no. Anyway, now we're going to go ahead and spray paint this silver. Looking good. I just get super giddy when something just works out. I'm so happy. There's such a joy that comes with making things. Anyway, back to business. So now I've got my pieces here. It's time to make the little drain, the little hole. So I use these grommets here. I've got a little grommet kit with lots of little eyelets and bits, and it's usually used for like poking holes into leather and stuff. Ask me why I've got it. I can't tell you. But anyway, I use this to make my holes in the bottom of the sink. Simply like this. You got this, you place it where you want, and this is how I've personally chose to do it, just to make the hole so I can put my eyelet in it. So you go ahead and pop that there, and you kind of have to rest it, and then we get the little bashy tool and bash that in until we've got a nice little hole. This tool works great for thick materials. So now we can take our eyelet and just pop that in the hole, and now we've got our little drain. Yay! Looks so good. Then I get a handheld drill and put a little hole where I want my taps to go. I use a plastic curtain hook for the taps. I'm simply just gonna snip off some parts. So I'm gonna just snip here and here. And this will give me my main nozzle. So it looks a little something like this. But now we have to zhuzh it up a little bit more. So I use some cardstock that I spray painted silver. I'm going to use this to bulk out the tap a little bit and add some extra details. Just rolling it over some toothpicks and then adding some glue. I then add my little hose in there just to give it a little bit more dimension and a bit more tap looking. I roll a smaller strip, make sure that's nice and tightly secured together, and then I'm going to attach this to the nozzle. So first I add a little bit of glue inside our new little tube and then simply just pop that into our nozzle right at the end there. Say with me now, looking good, my friend. Good. On to the next step. I decided to change a little bit of the base of the tap, so I added another layer of cardstock. So I took it off the base of my tap for now, and I'm going to reapply it. I've got a nice little perfect bend in the curtain hook, so I'm going to use those for my off and on switch. I'm just going to cut those in half because they are the perfect size for my tap. Imagine I was out here experimenting with my glues as you do, and I bought some of this 2-part epoxy glue. Why did one side come completely solid? Yeah, so I had to send it back and wait to get some more, but that is the glue that I use to stick these plastics together. I'm still experimenting with glues at the moment. There is so much of it, but damn, that was annoying. But anyway, we managed to get it done in the end, and we managed to get the handles on our taps. Yay! It looks so cute. It looks so good, huh? No, real? Yes? Okay, then I'm going to paint the top of them red and blue for hot and cold, as you do. And now we can stick our tap on. I decided to actually use a little bit of a toothpick to hold the tap into place. So we've got that little tube there. So I add glue to the base of the tap, and then I've also got this toothpick in there to give it some extra hold. Then we're going to go ahead and let that dry. Ooh, look at this, guys. It's looking so damn good. It's time to stick this together. So I'm going to start with my drain, just putting glue everywhere, and then going to stick this down because the sink is going to slightly overlap on top of the drain. So I just use some mini clamps to hold that drain part down. I'm going to add some glue all the way around the rim of the sink and then stick that over my hole and on top of the drain. So here's the overlap like this. That's why I didn't cut the whole hole out, because I wanted something secure to hold this into place. Then I'm going to just add some mini clamps everywhere and let that dry. Pinch me, pinch me. My first ever kitchen unit, and I love it. I'm so happy with how this turned out. You see, you've got the front panels there, and this is how it looks at the back, guys. Sink, yes. Now let's add the rest. So to get this L shape going, I'm going to add 2 pieces of wood that is already cut to size. I'm going to have one representing the back panel and one as the front panel, just as I did before. So you got something like this. I use my wood glue to stick the 2 pieces together and then stick them onto the side where the door would be. Back to my handy Jenga blocks as my edge straightener. They're really very handy, guys, trust me. Now I can add my countertop. I just add some glue along the edges, then add my countertop, making sure the neat edge is facing out so we can see it. Just wait for all of that to dry. I add some masking tape to make sure everything holds and dries into place. And now I'm going to add another part of the unit, so we've got that part sectioned off. This part is slightly taller than the doors because it's also going to represent where the cabinet kick will go, you know, the toe kick where your feet go. So this part will be the same size as the side panels that we had because it's going to touch the floor and give us space for where our feet will go. So you can see I've left a gap for where the oven will go, and the next part is going to be where our shelf will go. And this is going to be, as I said, this whole unit is going to be a built-in unit. The fridge is going to be built into the unit. It's going to be epic. So I'm going to just add another side panel here to represent part of the shelf, and then add the back panel to this part of the cabinet. And using my Jenga block again as a straight edge, I add some shelves to this part of the unit. I will invest in some more proper straight edges. I see people using those 1, 2, 3 blocks, so I might have to cop me some of those. So now I'm just going to simply add 2 shelves to this little part of the unit. Golly, this is looking good. Now it's time for me to get that extra side panel on there, which is also going to be the home for the fridge, guys. The prompt for this whole thing. Yes? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and stick this bad boy down. I mean, look, guys, what are we doing here? Because this is the business. Stuff that dreams are made of. You know, my daughter wants me to make her one of these for her dolls, but she plays with those, what are those dolls called? The bigger ones with the big heads. What the hell are they called? Comment below what those dolls are called, because I know you know what I'm talking about. They got their massive head, but the cute little body with the curves and the boobs and stuff. She wants me to make a real house. If you guys would like to see me make something like that, please let me know in the comments and let me know what the hell scale they are too. Thank you. Back to business. It's time to build our built-in oven. I've cut up all my pieces required to make the oven. I've got the back, the sides, the top and the bottom. So this is going to actually slide into the unit. So it's just going to be built in, looking all snug and good and stuffs. But before I stick anything together, I need to make some little ridges where your oven tray will go. So I'm just going to use some of these files that I've got. You can use whatever you want if you want to do this for yourself, but these files are pretty good. So on the side panels, I've already measured them out to make sure that they're equal, and I'm just going to file in some little indentations so that we can get some oven trays up in this, you know. I'm really happy with these indents. They're going to be perfect for the trays. So before I stick everything down, I just give everything a quick test fit to make sure it all fits in place as I want. Now it's time to stick this oven together. So first I'm going to start with the outer shell. Then I'm going to use some white 3mm thick plastic sheets to make the front of the oven, the door and all the tiny details. I'm going to use the plastic that has been painted black for the top strip of the oven. Then I use my X-Acto blade to cut through it a few times until I can just snap it off. So here's the outer shell as it is. And now I'm going to add the rectangular pieces that I've just cut. I made 2 of these pieces so I can stick them together, so I've got that extra thickness to account for my door. I'm going to stick the plastics together using some of this plastic magic. It's supposed to hold in 10 seconds, so we shall see. I'm just going to do a quick test fit before I stick anything down, and then on to the gluing. I'm going to put my pieces together and then hold it there for 10 seconds and see if it actually sticks. I'm pretty impressed. It's got a good hold, so I can stick this down. Now what glue for these parts? I'm going to tell you one thing, this project has been such a learning experience. Every single thing that has been made, I've had to learn what works and what doesn't. It's been the biggest task that I've ever taken on. So I'm first going to try with this and we'll see if it sticks. Let me know what you normally do for sticking wood and plastics together, because as I said, I wing as I go, folks. I wing as I go. So before I put the door on, I'm going to just make sure that I've got the base of this oven done. This is going to be tucked in there and just stuck on the inner side. So we're going to have our nice little base of the oven. I'm going to just stick that down. So we're going to need 2 of these base pieces. The main one we've just put down and a second one that we're going to put down a bit later on, but just doing a test fit for right now. Now I just make sure I'm happy with all of the measurements so I can prepare the doors. I'm going to be using the same plastic sheets to make the doors. I'm just going to draw my pattern on. I use my X-Acto blade to score it and then just snap when I'm ready. Pretty simple. I use my hand drill to pierce some holes in it so that it's easier to cut, so I can get that center hole in the middle. And then once I'm done, I just use my blade again and cut all the way around and then just pop out my hole. I do that for both my pieces and then I sand it up to clean the edges and make it all nice and neat. My door pieces are nice and shaped. Now I'm going to spray paint them. I'm going to use silver and black because this is the vibe that we're going for, baby. There we have it. A little bit scratched up for now, but not to worry, we'll clean up everything at the end. So we've got our silver piece here. I just sprayed the front and the back, and I did the same with the black piece here. And when it goes together, it's going to look something like this. But first we need to make the little glass that goes in between. I'm going to just use a bit of spare plastic that I have around, and that is going to get sandwiched in the middle here to represent the glass. You could use those acrylic sheets as well, that'll look really good too. But before I add my glass, I want to add some little trimmings to the door just to bring it to life a little bit and clean up the edges. So I'm going to use some cardstock, and I'm going to stick that all around the edges just to give it a nice little border. I just take my time and glue my strips around both of the frames. For my silver door, I add black strips around just to make it pop a bit, you know? Nice. And then I just spray paint the whole of my black piece. I'm going to leave that to dry. Now we can add our plastic to represent the glass. I just used some wood glue to stick this down. It's not fully dried yet, but I'm so impatient and I want to make the handle. So I've decided to use a bamboo skewer to make my handle. I've just measured it out exactly where I want it to go. And I'm going to use these eyelets as the little pocket where the handle will sit in. So I'm just going to mark out exactly the distance that I want my handle to be. And then I'm going to basically punch a hole into this plastic using my good old hand drill. And then I'm going to hammer in my little eyelet so it looks like this. So to get it, I just sand in the hole a little bit. Then I'm going to use my little tool here. It's my punch tool is what I call it, but it's good for getting through like levers and thick materials. So I figured it will work with plastic, and it does. So you just give it a good whack in. And then once it's nice in there, it's nice and secure, and it looks pretty darn good if you ask me, folks. So now I'm going to make my handle using the bamboo skewer, cutting it into 3 pieces. 2 pieces that are going to go into my eyelets and 1 piece for the bar. I did need to actually put some masking tape on. As I said, it hadn't fully dried yet, so I was jumping the gun a bit. So we put some masking tape to keep everything in place while I'm faffing about here. Just trimming some pieces because I want to represent, you know, the little screws and knobs that you have on the other side of the oven. So we're going to give it a little bit of that action. I'm going to do that on both sides whilst I just trim my small little handle pieces so they look like this. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. I chop my skewer down to size and then mark out exactly where I want my indentations to be so this fits nice and snug when I file it down. I'm going to start with my handheld drill to get a nice marking where I want my indents to be, and then I will continue with the file. Once I finish with my bar, I give it a test fit just to make sure I'm happy with it, and by George, I am. I am. I like it. Love it. Just going to clean things up and then I'm going to stick this together. I'm going to use my good old fashioned wood glue to stick this down, let it dry, spray paint it black, then stick it into my eyelets. Nice. The door is looking really good so far, but now it's time for me to enhance it a little bit. I'm going to use my silicone mat. I'm going to use some resin and some chalk pastels. Remember, I will be leaving a link in the description for everything that I'm going to be using for this project. So I'm going to use some black chalk because I just want to enhance and neaten some of the details that we've got on there using some of the black chalk and the resin. I'm going to take a nice little splodge of the UV resin, then add some of the chalk pastels and then mix them together. I have this great set of silicone brushes that I use when I'm mixing my resin. It's really handy, definitely recommend it. And now I'm going to just add some of this mixture onto the details that I want enhanced. So I'm going to put it on my handlebars and then I'm going to slowly add it around the trimmings. This is just going to make it pop a little bit more, make it not look like it's wood, and just give it that bit of realism that I'm looking for. I then let it cure under my UV lamp. I do the same with all of the extra trimmings just to make it all pop and give it that shine and not look so dull. And whilst I'm curing that, I leave my brush and my mat underneath the light because it makes for easy release cleaning. Trust me, you simply just peel and wipe. And when that's done, we've got ourselves a cool looking door. So what's an oven without a rack? Really hot storage box. Yeah, you get that one for free, guys. Be sure to tip the waitress, I'll be here all week. Anyway, time to make this rack. I'm going to use a template that I've made already. I'm going to use some parchment paper to see the template, and then I'm going to use some cocktail sticks to be the rack. So once we're all nice and secure, we can get this show on the road. All I'm going to do is follow the lines that I've made already, starting with the outer frame first, just trimming the ends off and then just basically sticking it together. So I'm going to use some of my wood glue to stick this all down, making sure I just put some glue at the tips and then just connecting and sticking around to get that frame first. I then trim all my middle pieces, making sure that they're the right size, and then stick those across. And I just take my time with this as well because I want it to fit well. I did experiment with different ways of making the bar across the top. So you can see now it's looking really good. But to do the bar, at first I thought about just sticking it on just like this. Then I realized it looks better if you basically file the indentations so that it sits nice and flush across the top. So I marked out where each bar was and then filed it down. Now with the bar added, it's time for me to spray paint this bad boy. I hit it up with some of this silver right here. Yeah. And then look at this. Looking good, huh? And then you can see, if I look a bit closer here, you can see the little grooves where it sits a bit nicer. Yeah. So we did it. Now it's time to test fit. Looks good. Looks very good. Yeah. Let's go, baby. Oven. We have not finished with the details yet, my friends. Now it's time to make some little knobs. I'm going to use some of these pieces that I've got from like a necklace collection. I'm not even sure what this is for, but I needed it when I needed it. I'm going to just add some toothpicks in there just to make a little knob. I'm going to make 2 of these. And we're going to need more bits and pieces, some glow-in-the-dark paint, some chalk, some resin, because your girl ain't finished, no. Some of the details that we want on the front of the oven as well. I'm going to use some chalk. I had an idea. I was going to stick this down just as it was, and I was like, nope, I want to make my own. Because, you know, I like to make things hard for myself, so why not? So I go ahead and get some chalk and just paint over this strip using chalk and resin, because I had big ideas, my friend, big ideas. What I was thinking, instead of having the numbers printed, I wanted to make it myself. So I'm going to have a tiny little strip. I'm going to paint the whole thing, but I only need a tiny little strip to make my own digital numbers, right? Okay, work with me. I got this glow-in-the-dark paint and I got a pin. And I used the pin to write the numbers on the paper. Jeez Louise, glow in the dark, hello? So you can see the time that things kick off in this kitchen is 01:44, okay? 1:45 in the morning, guys, is when things get down. That's when this scene was captured. And I was like, yes, I am happy and I'm here for it. So I used my UV lamp to let it cure. And then I go ahead and use some cardstock to neaten up the trimmings. Think about it, guys. At 1:45 in the morning, a New Year's Eve party, what do you reckon this kitchen is gonna look like? Oh, I say nothing, okay? I digress, okay? See, right now, you can't see the numbers. You gotta glow in the dark, babies. You gotta glow in the dark. Anyway, let's get back to business. Let's stick these knobs on now. Plop that on there, yeah. Then I'm going to plop the other one on, and then just going to add some final details using some shimmer bit of paint that I've got, just dabbing it on very, very slightly. Loving it, loving it. When a plan comes together. Now it's time for me to make the opening doors. My secret ingredient is masking tape. I stick my masking tape on the inside of the door at the bottom, like this. Then I'm going to use my X-Acto blade to cut off any excess pieces that we don't need. Now this is going to act as our mechanism to make it open and shut. Genius, right guys? Bloody genius. No bolts, no screws, no hinges. So that is going to stick down there, but to make it extra secure, I'm going to stick it down with some wood glue. Just test that that closes. And this is without anything right now. I'm going to secure it with some wood glue, and then we're going to go ahead and paint over it. But you can see it then pops back open just like that. So the wood glue is in there now, and then I'm going to paint over this because obviously we cannot have it looking blue, can we? And whilst I'm painting this, I'm going to neaten and clean up all of the edges of this whole oven, because right now it's got a few little sprinklets that we don't need. So we're going to go ahead and clean it up, make it all look good. I am really impressed with how this looks so far, guys, but we need one more thing to make this secure, and that will be that extra piece of base that we made earlier. So I'm going to paint that with some wood glue, and I'm going to stick that on top of where the masking tape was. So I'm just going to place that on top of the base. So now our flap that we've just made is going to be sealed in and extra secure. So I'm going to press that down, clean off any excess glue, give it another lick of paint if I need to. But the door is ready to roll, guys. And now we've got our open and shut oven door. Shall we give it a little go? Let's just pop that out. Look at this. Yes. It works. We've not quite finished yet because we have to do the top of the oven, but the main frame is done. Okay, so remember at the beginning when I told you to cut a hole in the countertop? Don't do it! I've got an idea, guys. I have made myself some oven tops, some stoves. So you can make a choice between which one you want. You want it off, you want it on, make that choice. Or simply stick them together like what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stick them together so I've got some extra thickness. Now it's time to make our stove look like it's switched on, and I'm going to use my glow in the dark paint. I'm going to put a nice blob of that on the piece that looks like it's switched on, spread that around, then use a nail or a toothpick to make a nice little track going around so it looks like we've got individual heated rims. We keep going till it looks a little something like this and just kind of neaten up all the little pieces. I stick it under the UV light so you can see that lovely glow. You see it right there? Hobby's on, folks. Hobby's on. I also add some more details to my stove. If I thought about it, I could have printed this on when I was making the stove, but I wanted these to be a bit more 3D and pop off. So I'm going to use some cardstock and some little beads that I have to make the knobs. I put a couple of blobs of glue where I want my knobs to be and then just stick those on. Knobs looking good. And now for some finishing touches, I use my UV resin and spread it across the top of my stove to give it that nice shiny look. So now we can stick this on top of the unit. I'm also going to add some more details around the edge for some trimmings, just using some cardstock. I spray paint it with some silver, then cut it into some tiny strips just to add some trimmings. I do a quick test fit with my oven just to make sure that my stove is going to be lined up exactly where I want it to be. Then I can stick my stove down. I'm going to spread my wood glue across the top of where I want my stove to be, then stick this bad boy down. I add my final trimmings, then put glue all around my oven and then stick it into place. This process has been an incredible learning experience for me, and I look forward to making more of these and experimenting with different colors and styles together. But guys, we have our built-in kitchen unit ready to roll. Let's just wait for that to dry. I hit it up with some of that UV light just to let it all set, and now we can do our final part of this kitchen unit, which will be adding a cupboard to the top of this unit. Because if you remember at the very beginning, I said the prompt that started all of this was a fridge. So the fridge is going to be built into this unit. So first I'm going to make a cupboard so the whole unit is complete. It's so exciting. So the cupboard is literally just going to be a box put on top of the unit here, and with some doors and some shelves. So here are the pieces. We've got the top, we've got the back, got the bottom. I'm going to have a piece at the side. I'm going to have a shelf in the middle and a door. So here is the cupboard now connected, and now I'm just going to add the extra details. So you can see it's a full whole unit. You got the sink, you got the stove, you got the cupboard, the fridge is going to pop under there. So now I'm just going to attach the shelf and the door. I do change my mind a bit later on, but you'll have to watch part 3 to see what I do. But here, the door is going to be one that just fits right in nice and snug. So I've put my shelf in here. And now the door, as I said, is just going to be one that fits like on the inside of the cupboard. So I'm going to show you here. So it's going to just sit really nicely on the inside. In real life, it would be one of those push doors. So it's like really discreet and fits in, you know. But I will have to put a handle on this in order for it to work. So I'm going to use some little pins and just push those through as the hinges. These really tiny, thin pins as well. They work really well. So you can see them here. And you can open and shut the doors really nice and easily. As I said, we'll need a handle on this to actually open it. So now you can just trim the pins off, and now we have our unit. But I wanted to put a little stopper on the door, so I figured like a nice little strip here would work. So I go ahead and stick this strip down, and then I came up with a better idea and stuck it at the top here because it's not as in your face, a little bit more discreet. And then I just use an earring for the handle. So I'm going to poke a little hole through here and then stick the earring on. I use some wood glue for security to make it secure. I trim off the back and then add some more wood glue and masking tape to hold that down in place. Voila, handle on, looking good. Now I need to add a toe kick to the bottom of our unit. A toe kick is that part when you're stood there chopping and your feet won't basically bang on the unit. It's just a little indentation. So I'm going to use a roughly 10mm strip. I'm going to put a bead of glue across the top half of it and then just stick it under the unit. So I do this around the unit where there would be any cupboards. Just wait for that to set and dry, and then we can move on. So now everything is dry, everything is working, and it's time for me just to clean this up a bit because it's looking a little bit shabby at the moment. So I'm going to just use some wet wipes and just wipe this down, clean off any dust, because golly, when these things sit around, boy, don't they collect dust. I'm going to get myself a little feather duster or something because geez Louise, the cleaning I have to do to maintain these things. So now I'm going to clean these up. I'm going to get a lick of paint. I'm going to be using my The One primer. It's like all-in-one. It's fantastic. I really do recommend it. I'm going to use this. I'm going to paint everything, and then we're on our way, folks. And guys, if you've made it to the end of this video, you are a real one, and I appreciate you so much. As I said, this has been such a fantastic journey, learning how to craft and create from scratch and just learning all of these beautiful skills. But look at the end, the results I am so happy with. I can't wait to make more of these as well. The cutting list will be available very soon on my Patreon. If it isn't there at the time of this video, it will be very shortly for my tier 2s and up. And if you are not a member of my Patreon as well, please head over there. I do a mini Monday post every week just to keep you updated on what's happening with the channel and me in general, and also just getting to communicate with you guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Hope you got some value from it, some great ideas. Make sure you hit that notification bell, guys, to stay tuned for part 3, where we do the prompt for this whole diorama, which was the fridge, and we bring this whole party together. It's going to be a wild one, guys. It's going to be lots of tips and great things to show you. I hope you've enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Like, share, subscribe.